It probably would have been a much better experience had I had a clinician to be able to help me understand a lot of the thoughts and the feelings that we're going through. My name is Rob Vomisil. I live here in Utah with my wife and our 5 kids. So I grew up in a fairly, a really conservative kind of traditional home. Because my parents worked for the government, we moved all over the world. And so I got to see and was exposed to a lot of different cultures. By the time I was in high school, moved back to the States. My parents provided for me kind of an opportunity, play sports and have, a normal kind of kid in the neighborhood type experience. The first time that happened to me was when I was in college, into a lot of trouble. Really had no direction in life, but had a lot of things around me that should have validated for me to be happy. But I wasn't happy, and I remember I had a psilocybin experience. I was having a party at my house and had an experience with psilocybin that helped me understand for myself personally that God was real, that the path and trajectory that I was on was extremely destructive. And I could see that and I could feel that. And for me, it was a repentance process, but it was an opportunity for me to kind of clean the slate. And from there started a whole lot of work to get my life back in order. But eventually ended up serving a mission, coming home, meeting my wife, beautiful children now, got a normal sales job, not anything illicit. And, kind of have built this beautiful life, that came out of it. So the reason why I decided to look into psilocybin again, 6-7 years forward, I had found myself in a place where, again, I had built a business. That business had failed. I had family. I felt like I had family that betrayed me. I never before had struggled with anxiety or depression. Addiction had been kind of in and out of my life, but I had been frankly clean for 6 or 7 years and had found that I was beginning to pick up these addictive behaviors. Really, really in a dark place. I was very averse to taking other psychotropic drugs. I didn't want to go get on medication that was going to numb me. I'd heard other people's stories about their medication. I had seen medication used even in my family. It wasn't an experience that I wanted to have, but I felt kind of at the end of my rope and out of options. I had this previous psilocybin experience, but was actually turned on to research that was done at Johns Hopkins University. Jordan Peterson mentioned it in one of his talks, and I latched on to that. He was talking specifically about smoking cessation, I think, but also described how these people in this experience attributed powerful life changes to these experiences they'd had. And I thought maybe that might offer me some hope. Because I was unwilling to go to the streets and, go find a drug dealer who could find me psilocybin, I didn't want to go through that whole process. I began to kind of mentally explore what it might look like for me to obtain psilocybin. I also made it a point to try to follow as best I could the Johns Hopkins protocol, knowing that I wasn't going to do it with a clinician. I worked with my wife to talk to her about what we were thinking and outcomes would be. Eventually, after a couple months of preparation, decided to take about 5 grams of psilocybin, which is a large dose. I took it home with my wife there as a trip sitter. Did all that we could to eliminate outside distractions. So I was sitting in a dark closet effectively, and just kind of went in, if you will, in this experience. The changes in my life, they're hard to understate. I don't want to overstate how impactful it is, but when I look at black and white, it's very hard to understate how big of a difference and big of a change. Thankfully, my wife was there. It probably would have been a much better experience had I had a clinician to be able to help me understand a lot of the thoughts and the feelings that we're going through. That's why I'm here. I wish that were available to me. I'm okay, but I've had to do a lot of research to begin processing and have worked since then to do what I've since come to understand as integration work, is taking these lessons and building it into my life. So that's the only thing that I would add is I hope that can become more available for people and they don't have to go through what can be a very difficult experience and then sometimes hard experience to understand. I would hope that people don't have to go through that by themselves. I think some of the misconceptions that people have about psilocybin are that it's an addictive drug, that you'll fry your brain that you'll maybe not come back, that you'll be a different person, you're going to be a burnout or a stoner. I know for myself, those were things that I frankly identified with psilocybin, old hippies and things like that. I have learned through my own experience, those are not accurate. Psilocybin in particular is certainly non-addictive. I know in my case, after this large experience, there's very little desire to have another type of experience like that. Frankly, I had no desire to go back. The experience was so difficult and so transformative that it was something that I maybe had a little bit more respect for and could see that this is not what I once thought of as maybe a recreational thing or a party thing that kids would do. I understood that's not at all what this is. This is something else entirely that, though difficult, frankly was so transformative that I didn't even have a desire to go back and have psilocybin again. Yeah, so as far as side effects, the only side effect that I can think of is that I had stomach aches when I actually took the mushrooms themselves. But I can't identify a side effect that lingered or lasted beyond the experience itself. I hope legislators can understand that this is an unexplored tool in the toolbox that's powerful, that has the potential to fundamentally change the way individuals think about themselves and think about the world around them. I hope legislators can understand that it's not addictive. I hope legislators understand as well that with care and understanding, this tool can be a cheap and effective way to help people address things that we all experience and struggle dealing with. I think that changing legislation might offer, frankly, hope and a new avenue for people with things like treatment-resistant depression. Since my experience, I've come to learn that a lot of my friends are struggling with these same things that I didn't even know they were struggling with. So even being able to talk about it openly, to me, seems like a lifeline for people. At this point, I can't advocate it because it's illegal. Like, it's Schedule I. That's a big deal. And so I can't go tell my friends that this is something they should pursue, but I know what transformed within me. And I want others to be able to have that experience.